of them. Okay, I see a lot of no's. Okay, Kevin, Cheryl. It says OT. Okay, not is that not is that short for not? Renee, Zoe. Okay, yup, needed. Okay, I saw some of you said yes. Tara says no. I see righteous billionaires. Okay, that's very interesting. All right, so that's a good question, right? Do we need billionaires? All right. So as you sort of process that and ask yourself if we need billionaires in our society, let me explain what his argument was, and then I'll kind of give you a way to kind of a framework. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to give you an opinion. I'll give you my opinion, but I'm not here to give you your opinion. Okay, we got enough people in our society that benefit by telling us what to do and controlling our thinking. I'm not trying to be one of those people. So here's what my framework is on that. So he says that billionaires, are a bunch of bastards because they have all this money, and we have all these starving people that they could be feeding. That instead of sitting on all that money, they should be taking that money and using it for the public good. They should, we do have enough money, enough resources to feed everyone if we wanted to. And it is interesting to me. I thought about this a long time ago when I first started teaching finance. I taught my first finance class at the University of Kentucky when I was 22 years old, and even then, I didn't buy into capitalism because it didn't seem healthy to me. I remember thinking to myself, how in the heck can somebody have millions of dollars and then step over homeless people on their way to work every day and have us feel okay about that? I don't understand that, right? At the very least, maybe paying more in taxes might be good. And then I started to learn about the history of this country and what happened and why we have such wealth disparities. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But just that fundamental idea, just that basic idea. You've got $5 billion. If someone took away 3 billion of those 5 billion and you only had 2 billion left, you still have more money than most people will make in 10 lifetimes. Why not? Why not share some of that wealth, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So let's start with that argument. Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying here. That there's a basic idea that says we got enough for everybody. Why not share a little bit more? If we share a little bit more, the world will be better off. That's what they call in economics. There's a term called utility that says that our society would have higher utility if people shared their money. Now, here's the other way to kind of look at this. The other part of his argument that he made, because the first part I honestly don't have a problem with. I mean, again, I get it though. I think that there are some people who say, no, no, no. If you earn the money, it's your money. You can do what you want with it. Nobody has rights to tell you what to do. Okay, that's fine too. I get that too. I mean, I voted libertarian, so I do really actually get that. At the same time, maybe I'm a hypocrite because I must not be a complete libertarian because I do believe that it's okay for them to give some of their money back for their own benefit. Because eventually, if you know the history of things like the French Revolution, it's where the rich people got so much stuff that the poor people just showed up and like beat them up and took all their money, right? And started chopping their heads off in the public square, right? So just sharing is just generally good as a principle. It's like I remember watching movies like I used to hang out with Dame Dash a lot with Rockefeller and Jay-Z and all that stuff. And Dame was an interesting guy. And I remember he made this movie a long time ago called, I think it was called Paid in Full. And I think that there was a part in the movie where one of the drug dealers got a whole lot of money and he realized he needed to share some of his money with other people because he realized that if he didn't share, that the wolves would eventually come eat him. And I don't remember if they did or not. I'm sure somebody got killed. It's a black movie. Somebody always has to die in our movies, right? Because we just like to see ourselves get shot up. But anyway, but still though, it's like a general idea. Like it makes generally good sense to share so that people won't necessarily see you as somebody that they need to eat in order to survive themselves. If you don't help them eat, they're going to eat you, right? So that just is good strategy. Now, here's the point that the guy made about billionaires that I thought was worth considering. He said this. They said, well, what about class warfare? Do you worry that when you say things like this, that people are going to accuse you of starting class warfare, where you're getting the rich people and the poor people fighting each other? Oh, you're just starting class warfare. And you know what he said that I thought was brilliant? He said, class warfare has been happening already. Like the rich have already declared war on working class people. The rich have declared war on the poor, right? And he said so class warfare. We're 50 years past class warfare. We just don't know that we're in the war. We don't understand how much the wealthy in America have done behind the scenes to push the wealth disparity in their favor, right? And I thought that was a great way to look at it, because here's what a lot of people don't talk about, and this is important from a financial consciousness standpoint. The best era in American history, economically speaking, let's just talk economics. They, according to, I think it was Robert Wright, the former labor secretary, was the 1960s. He said in the 1960s you had rich people and you had poor people and you had a nice middle class, and you had things like where the CEO would make more money because he's the CEO and everybody was okay with that. But then there was like the guy who had the job at the factory who could still have an American dream, have a wife and some kids and a nice house with a two-car garage and a white picket fence and all that. So you had a balance. You had labor unions in particular that would make sure that the workers got paid at a rate that made sense. You didn't have sort of these weird economic deformities that you have now, where you have just an endless supply of people coming from across the border taking low wage jobs. AI is on the attack on the other side, sort of taking away all the white collar jobs, and corporations don't want to increase the minimum wage, yet they want to increase the prices of everything every single year. But for some reason they don't want workers' wages to actually go up. And also, oh, and by the way, college degrees no longer have the value that they once had. Right. So this is the landscape that you have now. And a lot of this exists because of that class warfare that he was talking about. A lot of it exists because in the 1970s, after the 60s ended, rich people got together and they said, we don't like this. We want to change this. So they started the beginnings of the Republican Revolution. Now, if you're a Republican, I don't judge you for that type of stuff. If you know me, you know I don't care about whether you're Republican, Democrat, or in between. I truly don't care. But this is what the Republican, wealthy Republicans did, was they basically ran a campaign where they pushed they elevated people like Ronald Reagan. They pushed these ideas that that like greed is good, and they also pushed forward. Anybody remember? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you remember a concept called trickle down economics. Anybody remember trickle down economics and how horrible that policy was? Trickle down economics was basically this idea that if you give more money to rich people, they're going to make sure that the money trickles down in the form of more jobs and more opportunities for everybody, and we're all going to be more prosperous because you put more money in the hands of rich people. Whoever came up with trickle down economics was either almost demonically sinister, or incredibly ignorant at how human nature works. Right, either one or the other. Either they were stupid or evil. I don't know which one it was, because life don't work like that. Life don't work like that. To explain why trickle down economics does not work, we got three kids. We got the 20-year-old, the 16-year-old, and then we got the 13-year-old. Now imagine if I gave the 20-year-old $100 and said, okay, I want you to give one third of the money to each of your sisters, and then we leave and there's no regulation, no oversight, no nothing. What do you think is really going to happen? Let's say that he really wants a video game that costs $60, and he knows that there's no accountability, there's no consequences for not following the mandate. What do you think he's going to do with that money? What do you think is going to happen? He's going to keep a big chunk of that money himself. He's going to make sure he gets his video game. He's going to make sure he gets what he thinks he needs. And then he might give his sisters $10 a piece, right? Or something like that. Right, and because his sisters, they're little, they're little thin little girls. They can't beat him up. There's nobody there to make him do it. There's no regulation, no oversight, no nothing. And this is what the American economy looked like when you started to also, at the same time, when they pushed forward this nonsense about trickle down economics, they also started deregulation. They were like, oh, we don't need these laws, and the government intervention that just gets in the way. And what's so funny about see, I know rich people well because I'm one of them. To be honest with you, I'm not a poor man, and I understand rich and poor. I understand all the whole economic spectrum in America because that's all I do is study money. I've been doing it for 30 years, and 35 actually, if you include my freshman year of college. And and here's the thing. Rich people. First of all, rich people don't get rich by giving their money away. That's the first thing. But then number two, the interesting thing about deregulation is a lot of wealthy people are highly in favor of the government staying out of their business until they need a bailout. right? Until the banks need a bailout. Wall Street, when Wall Street's doing well, when they're booming, they're like, oh, get the government out of here. We don't need no more laws. The laws are getting in the way. It slows down innovation and blah, 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 blah. But watch what happens when they crash the car, right? Because what happens is when they get rid of regulation, it's like somebody taking the speedometer off of your car and saying, just go, don't go. Why would you go 60 miles an hour when you can go 160, right? So they're flying down the road. And then what happens when you're flying down the road? Well, if you're not a careful driver, you're going to crash. And that's what Wall Street reminds me of. They're a lot of them, they're high and they're drunk and they're driving 160 miles an hour. So then when they crash, they turn to the government and say, hey, we need a bailout. And this is the problem. This is where all of it's rigged. This is the class warfare. So because back in the 1970s, the wealthy donors started pushing money toward these nonsensical ideas like trickle down economics and Reaganomics and everything else. They also were able to buy out your government. All your government officials, Democrat and Republican, are pretty much owned by the corporations. That's why they don't pass laws that make any sense. That's why they do weird things that nobody asked for, or but then the things that people ask for, they don't actually respond because they don't work for you. They work for the people. They give them the money to buy your vote. They buy your vote through marketing, through advertising, and they serve the people that bring forth the money. This is where I jump in. This is why I talk about politics because I'm like, oh, y'all don't see the money. Y'all don't see how the money's driving all of this, and so effectively your politicians end up working for corporations and not for the people. They work for the wealthy. One great example is, did anybody know about that law that was passed by Joe Biden and his crew years ago? Again, I'm not anti-Biden, anti-Trump, pro Biden, pro Trump. So let's put that to the side for a minute. I'm pro you. Whatever you believe, I'm pro you. I'm pro your freedom. Okay, I want to make that clear. But if you remember when they passed that student loan law, do you remember that when they said that you can't declare bankruptcy on your student loans? You can declare bankruptcy on any debt you have except for your student loans, and I think tax debt too might be another one. Who can think? So I want you to ask yourself this question: what rally did the American people hold at the White House demanding that you pass a law saying that they can't declare bankruptcy on their student loans? Who asked for that? Did any of you ask for that? Would any of you have lobbied to or spent your time and your energy going to Washington to demand that they never let you declare bankruptcy on your student loans? You didn't ask for that. Nobody asked for that, but the banks did. The banks did. And Biden was from Delaware, and there's banks and a lot of banks in Delaware, and they're like, yeah, we need you to pass this law so these people don't stiff us. We want to bury them in debt. See, this is where debt becomes a trap. This is where debt becomes a financial prison, and this is why you got to be careful. What they see here's the thing: people will loan you money forever as long as they can have some guarantee that they're going to be able to extract the money that's owed plus their interest. If right now, seriously, right now, if you had enough collateral, or if the bank knew that there was something they could take from you that would give them equal or better value than the amount of money they're loaning you, they would loan you $10 million if they could. If that meant that if you had something valuable they could repossess, if they could force you into hard labor for the rest of your life or whatever, maybe not 10 million, but quite a bit of money. So what that guarantee does is it says, we're going to put you in this box and there is no escape from the box. You cannot escape through the bankruptcy hole. We're plugging that hole, right? So effectively, this class warfare that I'm referring to is reflected in just many, many, many laws and initiatives that took place through the years, like busting up unions. That's been another terrible thing that's happened in this country. That's why a lot of workers' wages haven't gone up. Unions aren't perfect though, right? Sometimes unions negotiating too hard or union corruption can destroy a company. So that's another thing that people don't talk about. But actually, if you think about this right now, for example, a lot of the big three automakers are in serious trouble because Chinese companies like BYD are competing heavily in that automobile industry, particularly in electric vehicles, and the big three really can't compete, and a lot of it's because of the pay, right? So it becomes kind of a tough sticky thing, but at the very least unions allow workers to have some sort of a voice where they are pulling together their capital base and being able to sort of make sure that they get their piece of the pie. So effectively this class warfare that he's referring to He's right. It's been going on for a long time. The reason the United States government has $35 trillion in debt right now that it will never repay, they literally borrow $1 trillion every 100 days, by the way, in case you're wondering how fast the debt is growing. So that means that that's at about, let's see, 600 days is a little bit less than 2 years. So in a little bit less than 2 years, we're going to cross the $40 trillion mark. So, and we're going to keep going up. It doesn't, spending doesn't typically go backward. It always goes forward. It's horrible. It's horribly dysfunctional. And this is going to be what's one of the things, one of a few other problem areas that are ultimately going to destroy America. America is not designed to last 1,000 years. It's just not based on the government that we have now. So anyway, that's why I hope I didn't depress you, but I thought I would just kind of break it down for you. All right, so for those of you that just came in, I shared some links earlier for stuff that you can do with us this week. The Love and Money Lab, again, that's tomorrow night. If you are interested in the whole money relationship thing, money and family, that's what my wife and I do. We formed our Black Financial Therapy Department, and this is what we're doing Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And so the link is right there in the chat. And if you use the code word Black Love 2024, you can get 70% off just because you're a member here. And then also, I'm going to share one more time the link to join the Forex event, just in case, because I saw some of you came in a little bit late. So let me share this with you now. Let me see if I can find this. This is going to be Michael Edwards. And so if you have an interest in trading Forex, a lot of you have asked about that. Michael's the guy. He can really show you how to do it. So this event is free. It's going to be Friday night. So if you're interested in joining us for Forex, feel free to do that. Okay. So